Imagine packing up your life for what you think is your last move, dragging box after box into your so-called dream home, sweat running down your back, your kids chasing each other around the front yard, your wife calling for a hand, and before the dust even settles, your new neighbor strolls over and tells you, in this deadpan voice, you don't belong here. Not loud, not angry, almost like a warning, which, I gotta say, stuck with me harder than any threat ever could. That was the start, right there in the Texas suburbs, me and my wife Simone and our two kids, Caleb and Mia, trying to build the peace I'd spent nearly 2 decades overseas fighting for. Navy man, seen my share of bad places, watched good men snap under real pressure, and all I wanted was to hear my kids laughing, grill some ribs on Sundays, and maybe finally keep a patch of lawn alive. Wasn't asking for much, you know what I mean? The place itself was nothing fancy. A 2-story brick, big enough to finally fit the bikes and the dog, wide garage, Simone already plotting out where her tomatoes would go, the kids racing up and down the sidewalk. For about 10 minutes, it almost felt like victory. But neighbors, well, they weren't all handshakes and cookies. Some waved, but plenty more just stared a little too long, curtains twitching when I walked by, conversations dying off mid-sentence when my family stepped outside. I'd seen that kind of thing before, but I told myself it'd pass. Then, one evening, this guy comes walking up the driveway, late 50s, neat polo, khakis, clipboard glued to his hand. Introduces himself as Mark Ridley, president of the Homeowners Association. Mr. Cole, he says, just want to welcome you to the neighborhood. We have a few standards here. He nods at my flagpole, says it's too tall by 2 feet. I laugh, thinking he's joking. I served under that flag for almost 20 years. I'm not lowering it. His smile never touches his eyes. We'll see, he says, and right then I realize, this is the kind of man who doesn't get tired. He just gets even. Over the next days, Ridley's at my door with a new complaint every time. Trash cans too visible, kids' basketball hoop out front, kids laughing too loud at dusk. Always with that clipboard, always jotting down notes, always with that little smirk. Simone tries to tell me he'll get bored if we ignore him, but I know better. Guys like Ridley, they feed off the pushback. They want you to snap. It wasn't just Ridley, either. He started recruiting. One afternoon while I'm washing my truck, he strolls by and drops a comment about the kind of visitors we have, stares at my cousin like he's casing the joint. This isn't that kind of neighborhood, he says, like he's daring me to say something back. That night, I notice his car sitting at the end of our block, headlights off, just parked. I sleep with one eye open, instincts from years in the Navy humming in my veins. Something about this guy, it wasn't just busybody nonsense. It was personal. Pretty soon, the violations start piling up, all official looking. Yellow slips on the door, trash cans in the wrong place, grass a hair too long, porch light too bright. I keep records, take photos, everything I need to fight it. But it wears you down, man. Even the kids start to notice. Caleb wants to have friends over, and Simone just shakes her head. Not tonight, maybe another time. You try to hide it from them, but kids know. I catch Ridley talking to another neighbor, this lady with a dog, whispering, "We'll get this under control, don't you worry." Like my family's some pest that snuck into his perfect little world. Eventually, I have it out with him, right there on the front lawn. I don't know what your problem is, I say, but I'm not letting you harass my family. He just shrugs, drops the casual bomb, mentions a cop buddy who lives nearby, says he doesn't take kindly to rule breakers. Now, that wasn't a warning, that was a threat. Simone says he's bluffing, but the next week I'm driving home and blue lights hit my mirror. Officer pulls me over, says I got a busted taillight. Car's 6 months old. He stares at me like he's waiting for me to twitch. Lets me off with a warning, but when I get home, Ridley's in the yard, just happens to be talking with another cop. Connections, plain as day. From then on, police cars start cruising our street, sometimes parked all night. Simone's nervous going out. Kids ask why cops never stop at anyone else's house. I know intimidation when I see it. One night, there's a knock. Ridley again, with the same speech, now adding that my kids are a disturbance. This isn't a playground, Mr. Cole. Simone steps in, says, they're kids, they're just laughing. Ridley just grins. If they can't respect the rules, there will be consequences. He wasn't lying. That weekend, 2 cops show up while I'm mowing the yard. Reports of aggressive behavior, they say. Toward Ridley. I laughed bitterly. He's on my property every other day. They aren't there to listen, they're there to warn. They say, we'll be keeping an eye on this residence. Simone tries to protest, but they just walk away, leaving that message hanging. That night, I can't sleep. How do you fight men who get to write the report? Weeks go by like this, each one heavier than the last. Simone starts skipping neighborhood events. The kids quit riding their bikes out front. Every time a cop car drives past, Mia pulls the curtains shut and Caleb asks if we're bad people. I keep telling myself not to snap. But then, one night, after another tense dinner, another knock at the door. Ridley, flanked by those same cops. They accuse me of threatening neighbors. I tell them I haven't, that it's harassment. Halverson, the bigger one, pushes me, tells me to step outside. When I refuse, he shoves me onto the porch. Simone's screaming, the kids are crying, the officers are twisting my arms behind my back. I keep saying, I'm not resisting. They drive a knee into my back, slap cuffs on so tight my wrists bleed. Neighbors' porch lights flicker on. Faces appear in the shadows, but nobody comes to help. Simone is screaming for someone to call 911 as they drag me off our porch like I'm some animal. I've been shot at, I've been blown up, but I've never felt humiliation like that. Watching my kids scream for me while I'm shoved in a patrol car. At the station, they book me for disorderly conduct and resisting. The report's a work of fiction, claims I fought them, claims I refused commands. Simone sees it, her hands shaking, and she just says, they're rewriting the story. That's when you realize, these men don't just have the power to arrest you. They have the power to decide what's true. Next day, Simone drags the kids to the jail, Caleb clinging to my leg, Mia sobbing. Don't let them take you again. I tell them I'm here. I'm not leaving, but I'm not so sure anymore. By the time I limp across the yard, neighbors are whispering, Ridley's grinning, tells me, you should think about moving. Would be easier for everyone. I ignore him. That's exactly what he wants, for me to snap, to give him an excuse. I try to file a complaint, but the desk sergeant says it's internal review and rarely goes anywhere. Simone's face is tight with worry. She asks, what about your old team? The guys you served with? At first, I tell her no, don't drag them into this. But she says, isn't that what you swore? Never leave anyone behind. That night, as the house goes quiet, I finally reach for my phone and call Ethan, my old commanding officer. I tell him everything. HOA harassment, the cop buddies, the beating. He says, send me the address. I'll bring some of the boys. The next day, 4 cars pull up outside our house. Ethan, broad-shouldered, calm as ever. Ryan, Miguel, Sam, brothers from my Navy days. Not in uniform, but you'd know at a glance these men weren't here to back down. Ridley notices right away, parks in our driveway, tries to talk tough, but Ethan's ice cold. We're here to make sure their rights are respected, he says. Ridley tries to bluster, says, you're making a mistake. But for the first time, his hand shakes when he grabs his car door. My buddies set up cameras, document everything. Miguel starts talking to reporters. Ryan calls veteran organizations. When Ridley tries to rile up the HOA at an emergency meeting, more neighbors speak up, quiet at first, but then one says, kids shouldn't have to watch their father get beaten. The tide shifts. People finally see it. With cameras rolling, the police back off a little, but not much. Ethan's not scared. Anger makes people sloppy, he says. Let them slip. Miguel sends a packet of evidence, photos, videos, my bruises, to a reporter in Dallas and a legal group in Austin. The story breaks online. Texas veteran alleges harassment by HOA and local police. It spreads like wildfire. Neighbors who'd ignored us come over, apologize for staying quiet. Ridley stays inside now, blinds drawn. The police department puts Halverson and Mercer on leave. Ridley resigns as HOA president. One Sunday, I'm standing in the backyard, grilling with my old team, Simone laughing, kids chasing each other barefoot, smoke rising, music playing. For the first time it actually feels like home. Ethan raises his glass, to peace, and to never letting the wrong people define it. You know, it's easy to stay quiet, to convince yourself fighting back won't matter. But the truth is, when you stand your ground, and when you let others stand with you, you don't just protect yourself, you change things for everyone. So what do you think? Was I right to stand and fight? Or does peace sometimes mean packing up and starting over? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me where you stand on justice, on community, on what it really means to belong. Because sometimes the only thing stronger than fear is the voice that refuses to go silent.